Perfect. All docked up. Hey guys, real quick, I just want to show you what to look for when you guys are looking for your own boat, whether it be like a trawler or a sailboat for cruising or living aboard. Those are the boats I have the most experience with. I started with an old houseboat, then went to Tula, small cruising sailboat, and then to Neverland, this trawler here. But always old boats that I put a lot of work into. And I just want to show you some things that you want to look out for when you're looking at buying your own boat, especially older boats. So the first thing is the hull, right? So like back in the late 60s and early 70s, that's when they first started using fiberglass. So they didn't really know what the material was like or what it could hold up to, so they tended to use a ton of fiberglass and just make the hull super thick. You didn't generally have a lot of problems with like dry layup or anything relating to a lack of material or a lack of strength in the fiberglass. Once you get into the 80s and 90s, this is just very general information, and there's exceptions of course, but once you get into the 80s and 90s, they started to go a little bit thinner and thinner on that fiberglass for the hulls, and you just want to watch out for things like cracks in the holes or dry layup or you know, really thin spots in the holes, things like that. Alright, the next thing you want to look out for when you get on deck of your boat is soft decks. So it's a really good idea to kick off your shoes and kind of walk around the deck, really just kind of slow and feel it out with your feet. You can feel any soft spots, and like our deck actually is still the original. There wasn't much work done to it, so I can actually feel soft spots here and there. That just means the wood underneath the deck is getting water in it and rotting and getting spongy and stuff like that. So that can be a big job if you feel a lot of soft spots in the deck, or any really. You don't really want that at all. So another thing to look out for. Something else you want to look out for are your through hole fittings. You definitely don't want leaking or cracked through holes. You can see a through hole right here, and you just want to take a good look. If the boat's in the water, go inside, make sure the through holes that are underwater are not leaking, not cracked, and make sure the valves to close the through holes are functioning. They should constantly be greased and be worked back and forth. You just don't want those things to be leaking. If you're gonna do a lot of work on the boat anyway, then you definitely just want to check them out, and if you have to replace them before you put the boat in the water. Alright, so another thing to look out for is leaks under the windows. So you go to the windows. Luckily the previous owner replaced the windows in our boats with these aluminum frame windows. Originally they were like wood framed windows, and I'm pretty sure they replaced this whole wall, because what happens under those wood frame windows is they leak and you get rotting all around the windows. So definitely look all around every window or port light and just kind of feel the wood. Make sure it's not soft around there. Make sure you're not getting leaks through there. If it's an old boat, you might have to change out those windows anyway, but kind of just something to take a look at. Alright, the next thing you really want to pay attention to is like the headliner up in the top of the boat. So you want to look for leaks around the headliner. We actually have a leak or two, so you can see like some water stains, like a little bit there. It's actually kind of, it's not soft, that wood, but we definitely have like a couple small leaks somewhere up top, and you can see the stains just kind of, here you go, you can see some water stains there. Just heads up for that. Here's some more, you can see that. So that's not really too good, but if it's not so bad and you can find those leaks, then you can kind of stop it before any wood gets rotted. Alright, the next thing we come to is the heart of the boat here, your engine, right? So if you're just living aboard and you're not really cruising too much, then you know, I guess it's not such a big deal. Like my first boat was a houseboat that we kind of, not really restored, but we kind of put back together with some friends, took out all the rot, rebuilt some decks, and we just mounted a little 30 horsepower on the back of it. But I kept it anchored in the bay all summer. I wasn't really taking it all over the place. In this boat we're doing a lot of cruising, so the engine is really the heart of the boat. We wanted to make sure our engine was in really good shape. All right, we got some more light on here for you guys. All right, so the first thing we did is we just went for a test run with the owner, and I watched when he started the engine. I paid close attention. It started right up, so that's a good sign when the engine starts right up. One thing you can do before he starts the engine, ask him not to start it until you get there. Just feel the engine, make sure it's cold. That way you know he didn't start it and get it warmed up before you got there. Another thing to look out for, especially when the engine starts, is you can watch the exhaust and see what kind of smoke comes out the back. So ours had a little puff of white smoke, no big deal, and that's about it. Once it got running, that smoke cleared up, not really anything. That's common with big old diesel engines. Big puff of smoke at startup, maybe a little bit of smoking while it's running, but not too much. So just so you guys know, like if you see while the engine is running a lot of white smoke, that means the engine is burning some water usually. If you see a lot of blue smoke while that engine is running, that means your engine's probably burning some oil. Maybe you have a leaky head gasket or something like that. That's not a good sign. And if it's burning a lot of black smoke, that usually means that it's burning, or that's like unburnt diesel fuel that's coming out of there. So just kind of heads up for that. You don't really want to see too much smoke when that engine's running. All right. So the last thing I was kind of paying attention to when we were going on our test run was the temp gauge. Our temp doesn't go over 180, or we don't push it to over 180. So I did a lot of research on this engine, on this boat, before we bought it, and they say, so this is an old Ford Lehman diesel engine. They're in a lot of like tractors and corn combines and things like that. It's just a big industrial diesel engine. Very mechanical, not many electronics attached to it, just the alternator and starter. But through my research, the thing that they said was the only thing that will really kill this engine is overheating it. And I've talked to a few people who have repeated that as well. So we watched the temp, and just make sure at normal running temps, we kind of pushed it a little, but we made sure that it wasn't getting too hot. If it gets too hot right away, you might have a bad heat exchanger or clogged raw water or clogged fresh water. Just not a good sign. And if that engine has been run a lot with that high temp, that can start warping things inside the engine and the head, and just not too good. So look out for that. Alright guys, those are like the very, very basic things to look for, like the core things. On top of that, you have all your systems, you have your electronics, you have just all the wiring and paneling. Take a good look at that wiring. If it's old, it's probably going to have to be replaced sooner rather than later. Luckily our wiring was replaced by the previous owners here. They put in this whole new panel for us. You want to look at the plumbing. I mean, what I told you is just the very, very basics. If you're planning on doing a lot of work on that boat anyway, then that's kind of the core. You want to make sure it's there, and then you can kind of work from there. So I hope that video helps. Definitely subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, and let me know if I missed any of those core things to look out for when you're buying an old boat. Thanks guys. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped. Let's talk to you guys soon.